Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cinephile Sundays, the live stream where a couple of book guys pretend to be movie guys for an hour or so. And today we have a very special guest. We have Hannah from Hannah's Books, and we're going to be talking about. Um, oh, it's me, James Rishala from Quainted Curious Volumes, and Randy Ray, the literate Texan. There may be
Hello.
other Texans on BookTube, but are they literate? Are they really? And today we're going to be talking about 84 Charing Cross Road, the 1987 adaptation of Helene Hanf's. Now, what kind of book it is up for question, but it's an epistolary autobiography or possibly novel um, about basically buying used books through the mail and so much more. So this book was made first into uh, a stage play. Well, actually, before that, it was made into a television show, and then into a stage play, and then into a movie. And the movie is based uh, roughly on the stage play. So um, the movie is 1987. I think I said that, which is a little later than our usual cutoff point, but we make exceptions for 84 Charing Cross Road because it is the book lovers movie par excellence. I think.
Thank you so much for allowing it in.
And for Hannah gets
Well, I was
some
going to
leeway.
say, we also
Yeah,
make exceptions for Hannah.
that's right. Libro comes around and he's like, "Well, we got to do this cheerleader movie." Yeah, no, no.
Yeah, Bring It On. Is that the name of that movie he wants us to
Well,
do?
that's yes. So we have a visitor. We have Patricia H, uh,
Wonderful.
one of our commenters. Running. All right, so I guess we can start. Like, what is everyone's experience with? I I'm guessing we've all read the book probably at least once and seen the movie probably at least once. Hannah, why don't you tell us some of your history with Helene Hanf and this movie and book?
I first found the book when I was in college. I don't quite remember how I came across it, but I read it and loved it. And that was sometime in early December, I guess. And so I immediately bought another copy to give my mother for the holidays.
All right.
And she loved it too. And the only other book that I ever gave her that she loved was Cranford. So it's
Mhm.
two short
Yes.
books that we bonded over, and I saw the movie after that, but only a few times.
Yeah.
And then maybe a decade later, I started a tradition of reading um, the book every New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Um, and I've kept that up with only a couple of exceptions. Occasionally I listen to it on audio, and occasionally I'll watch the movie instead, or both.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I've read it a number of times, and it's amazing how each time I laugh as if I had just heard some of the jokes. But you still can
Right.
be not surprised exactly, but things that feel new in the moment, even if I know that.
Mhm.
So and
Okay, so I have a question already. Um, that's a lovely tradition. Was there a reason in particular you chose New Year's Day for that tradition?
I was looking for something short, and it was the shortest thing on my shelf.
Okay.
I read it every morning because I was an early riser, even if I'd stayed up till 2 in the morning. But I just
Mhm.
would wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock, and everybody else in the house would be asleep. And for years, I and still occasionally spend the night at a friend's house who has a big party, and we all who raised our kids together, we all stay together. And so I've had to take two little short books because
Right.
some significantly different. But yeah.
Mhm. So Randy, what is your history with this book and or movie?
I heard of this book on Kelly's channel, Books I'm Not
Mhm.
Reading, and read it, loved it. Found out there was a movie, went and got a copy of the movie and watched it. I have since read the book a second time,
Mhm.
but I've still only seen the movie the one time. but it's just a lovely book. I've read the other two books. I guess there's a quote unquote trilogy of sorts. Would is that accurate, or were there 4 books?
I think there are 2 that are really closely related, and then
There's one that gets a little further in the future.
Yeah, she has several other books out as well, but the 2 that are closely related, and some of the part of the story from the second one, Duchess of Bloomsbury Street, is something. That's not what it's called.
That is what it's called, actually.
That is exactly what it's called. Yeah, it's a lovely title.
And it's sort of the last part of the movie is kind of from it. So.
Okay.
And it just doesn't have the power. It's charming, but it doesn't have quite the power of this movie.
Yeah. So I just today finished reading Q's Legacy, which is the third of
that's number 3. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. By the way, I loved Q's Legacy.
Yeah.
It's really. I especially like the beginning part of it. It gets a little. The end was not as great for me, but it's fine.
Right.
When so it starts with the first chapter is called, I think, How It All Began, which basically tells you her life up to the events of 84 Charing Cross Road and through the death of Frank Dole. Spoiler alert, boy, if you're watching this and you're like, I did it. And then it goes on to say about how she was trying to make a living as a writer, and she had sold some kind of successful books before, including one that was kind of a behind the scenes look at Broadway, called Underfoot in Show Business. And I think that actually made her a fair bit of money and got her an agent. And then she tried writing a bunch of other things that were not successful for a long time. And she did television scripts and magazine writing, and supported herself in New York, which was a thing you could do in the 1940s and 50s and 60s and 70s. So this movie starts in 1949, the movie and the book. And Helene Hanff, our protagonist, is enamored of English literature, and in particular, mostly kind of earlier English literature than a lot of people these days read. So not Victorians, not Austen, and also a type of English literature that a lot of people these days don't read, which is nonfiction, right? So she is into Isaac Walton, the complete. Which is a strange. It's a classic of its type, but how many people, in the middle of the 20th century want to read a book about fishing? I don't know, or fishing as it was practiced in the 1600s in England. I don't know. I haven't read that book, to be totally honest, but that was one of the ones that we're familiar with. There's of course the Pepys Diary, and this is there's a great scene that's portrayed in the movie wonderfully, and this is a scene that I saw years ago before I knew what this movie was, or before I ever heard this book. I was like flipping through. I think I was at someone's apartment and waiting for them to get ready so we could go out. And I was like flipping through, and I saw the scene of her like sitting at her typewriter, and she has a book and she tosses it over, and it like hits her bed and like slides down behind the bed. And she says, "This is not a Pepys Diary."
What kind of black Protestant diary is that? That's the translation of
Yes, so kind of a black, yes,
very similar scene.
Right. Yes, exactly. So she's pissed off because it's some kind of bowdlerized edition of the Pepys Diary, and of course, Pepys' Diary is enormous, and most editions you would get would be edited in some way, but presumably this is one that took out a bunch of the spicier bits, such as it were. And I remembered that scene, and I think probably shortly after that, so whoever I was waiting for came out and said, "All right, we got to go to the bar," or whatever it was we were going to do. But I remember that scene, and for some reason, I think I thought it was Tracy Ullman who was the actress. I don't know. She was kind of more around and on TV in those days. So, but anyway, that was it's still a great scene. I had considered reenacting it for the a promotion for this video, but I can't safely toss books in this room. So
I think that really brings up the point, though, that how bizarre that this movie has, book and movie, took off. You know, to be about books, period, is weird enough, and to be, you know, ordering books. This whole thing is, you know, a story about ordering books, as you said, and
right.
you know, that people would want to watch that, but especially when it's books that, you know, a whole lot of people have never heard of, and you know, even those who've heard of them have usually not read many of them, and that it's became popular and then it's lasted this long.
Yes, it's very strange.
Yeah.
And she is looking for these books. She's specifically directed to them by essays written by a Cambridge professor named Sir Arthur Quiller Crouch, who also wrote kind of pulp fiction under the name Q. Thus, Q's legacy. And that was not just his pen name, but it was what his friends and family called him, and a lot of his students called him Q. So Quiller Crouch,
the pulp fiction part.
yeah, he wrote like adventure stories and things like that. And he was quite prolific, I think. So she was enamored of his essays. She had wanted to go to college and study, and this is what you learn in the first chapter of this book: is she wasn't able to go to college because it was the Depression, and while she had gotten kind of a scholarship for the first year of college, after that it was kind of withdrawn, and she had to go and get a job, you know, to contribute to the household, and but she still wanted to learn about literature, and she would go to the library and get out and look for textbooks, English textbooks. And the one that she found that she really liked was written by Sir Arthur Quiller Crouch. And I have never found a copy of this book, but I would very much like to read it sometime. And she was just kind of following his suggestions, which includes things like Milton and John Donne. Things that people have heard of course. So, but as she says in both the movie and the book, she's not that interested in fiction. Why get that? How I can't get that interested in something that didn't actually happen, which is interesting, because I mean, part of the charm of this is that we believe that it actually happened, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any reason to think that any of this is made up. I think that when she put this book together, the Helene letters were kind of reconstructed, because she had kept all of her mail from Frank. So all the mail she got from the bookstore, she had kept in a pile in a drawer. And there's a scene in here where she's like thinking about putting this together, and she's like, do I actually have these letters? Because she'd kept them for sentimental reasons, and at a certain point she thought maybe she'd thrown them out, because she's like, there's no reason for me to keep these. And she found them she'd moved them to a different drawer. So she was relieved to find them and work them into that book, which became, as we know, a surprise success. And so this is not just about writing letters back and forth to buy books. It's also about what is happening in these people's lives while this stuff is going on. Now, one of the ways that this movie kind of, I think, expands on the book is you get a lot more, like Helene is always telling you, like, she's being a New Yorker and she's telling you all the stuff about her life and her apartment and her dental surgery, right? And Frank Dole, the bookman on the other side, is pretty reserved, you know, tweedy, buttoned down. Eventually they do become friends, and he, you know, and there's more humor that comes in, more personal background, but it's still very, it's still what you expect you would get from an English bookseller. Right? He's not, and in the movie they really. So this is where it kind of gets creative because we get a character of Frank in the movie that I don't know how much that is actually him, and who has some thoughts about the character Frank? I have a lot of thoughts about the character Frank. I feel like I'm talking too much. So Hannah, tell us what you think about the character of Frank in the movie.
I think there are a lot of similarities with what I see in the book and what I see with him. Although I think that the flirtation between them is heightened for sure. Yes. And I think starting out with, I was going to say his relationship with Judy Dench, which of course it's not actually with Judy Dench, starts out so rough at the beginning that sort of intensifies it.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I don't love about the movie. Although it's such a tiny part, it's really not, it doesn't last for all that long.
Right.
But it's played up more in the movie than in the book. But
certainly could.
He's definitely, reserved and yet clearly charmed by her, as the whole book story is.
Right. Yes. I mean, obviously, he's not responding. Yeah, we're sending you this copy of the Vulgate Bible, and my wife and I had this very awkward dinner last night. By the way.
Exactly.
Imagine if you got that letter from someone at Amazon today.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
So so that, I mean, that's the thing is there is that kind of flirtation, which is, and the feeling that she says, Frank's wife says at the end of the book when she sends her letter about Frank to Helene, I was a little jealous of you because you were such a good writer and you had this bond over books and this sense of humor that he appreciated and that she appreciated and that we didn't have, But
by then it feels so right.
Yeah.
Because you know what she means by jealous there. She doesn't mean that she thinks, that there's likely to be some sexual indiscretion or whatever.
Right.
But it's really, you had this bond that was different from the bond I had. And sometimes I wished I could share that with him. Exactly. I buy it by the end, but not at the beginning as much.
Right. Exactly. And the tagline on one of the movie posters for this says something like, she's in love with a man she's never met. I don't in any sense, in any regard, think that she's in love with him. Right. And I mean, this is one of the
book I had, the copy was a love story between a woman and a bookstore.
Right. Yes.
And that's what it is. There's something so, I don't know, emotional and connected, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not romantic in the.
No, I agree. We have a couple of comments from Libro Paradiso. Miguel says, I have the same reaction, Hannah, every time I watch Bring It On. Right. So you were saying that you laugh every time you see it. Yes. Libro is a big fan of the cheerleading movie Bring It On. And I know about the film, but I haven't seen it. Well, watch it, my friend. It's very good. Yeah. It's not very long. It's about an hour and a half. You might be able to read the book faster than you could watch the movie. Actually, both are highly recommended.
I think it's free on Tubi. You said, right?
Yep.
And I think it's on YouTube for free too.
I think it also is on YouTube for free. Yeah. So
excellent.
And I don't actually have a physical copy of this book, though I know I have read it.
I do, but I don't have it with me. I think I must have left it at my friend's house on New Year's Day.
I like the tradition of reading something on New Year's Day, and I a couple of years ago, I think Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads mentioned that he likes to read a complete book, and usually it's a book of poetry on New Year's Day. And for the last couple of years, I've read a play complete on New Year's Day, which I read Long Day's Journey into Night, not a great way to start the year.
Yeah, yeah,
but
that's
but
intense.
I think that this might be a better one, or the Uncommon Reader. I know, Hannah, you said that's one that
Oh
you
yeah,
like.
they're both just wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, light, gentle, bookish,
Right.
joyful, promise for the year almost. So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Helene in Q's Legacy, she talks about her own attempts to write plays early in her career, and she says, and I at first thought that this was kind of more self-deprecating than I think it is. She says, I specialized in plotless charm, and when you think about it, that is really 84 Charing Cross Road, and there is not a plot in this movie at all, but there is plenty of charm, certainly.
Yeah, I'll have to read that again. I haven't read it in 20 years, probably.
Yeah, it's fun. So these scenes that we're getting in the movie really illuminate this aspect of the book that I think probably if people these days know about this, it's because they had parents or more likely grandparents who lived through it. But I don't think most Americans know anything about
Right.
what was going on in England in the 40s and into the mid 50s with rationing, unless they know it from this movie and this book. And so rationing happened. I did a brief look on the internet about this afternoon. Rationing happened in England through a lot of the 20th century, not just during and right after the war. World War II. It was often connected with World War I and with other conflicts where there was a shortage of goods, and the government would say, well, everyone can get 2 ounces of meat per household per week or per month or something. And this was persistent into the mid 50s and was at times more severe than the rationing that they had during the war. And there was, for example, I read at one point it was a ration of like 1 ounce of cooking oil per week. What can I ask you? Well, I guess that explains their fondness for boiled food, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
But people, English cooking is kind of a punchline, but it may have something to do with this, right?
Yeah.
And there was a point at which the ration on candy was lifted, and there was still a ration on sugar. So people went and raided candy stores to get all the candy they could buy because they couldn't get all the sugar that they wanted.
Wow.
But so this was a severe thing that really impacted people's lives. And so one of the turning points in Helene's relationship with the people at Marx and Company is she's reading about this. She learns about the rationing. It's not that Frank is like, yes, we're starving to death over here. She reads about it in the paper and says, let me send you a package. She learns about it from an English neighbor, that there's this thing that he's been doing where he gets food imported from Denmark to England, and she sends them a package for Christmas, and then one for Easter, and apparently does this for a number of years. And the people in the shop write back to her and tell her what this has meant to her. Then someone says, we got eggs and raisins, and so we could make a cake at Christmas time, and there's a delightful enactment of the scene in the movie where one of the staffers gets a canned ham, and he's opening it rather awkwardly, and he lives with his great aunt who has this enormous bird cage in the living room. They have this very cluttered English kind of living space where there's a sitting area and a dining table, and he's opening this can of ham, and she's like,
looking so suspicious.
She's so suspicious of this ham that came from America, and he says, it's only from Denmark, Auntie, and she's like, well, I don't know. And they
then
open it up.
she's so happy.
Yeah, she's so delighted to get
Yeah.
it. Yes.
That's just, I love that scene.
And we see some
Yeah.
of this in the scenes with even with Frank and his wife. You know, in the beginning, you know, what they're having for dinner is like, I don't know what it is, but he's like drinking a glass of plain water, and it looks like a fried square of bread or something, you know. And then later on, they're still having awkward dinners, but he at least has a beer and like some peas on his plate and a piece of meat, maybe. Yeah. So that's really, really delightful to see this, these English lives, you know, and I, you know, in a way, for us, looking back on this, it's like living in a version of London that's historical in the way that Helene liked to experience a historical version of London through reading these books. You know, the London of English literature.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I'm basically just gushing about one aspect of this movie and book after another, but it's really quite.
Well, another part of the war that gets highlighted in the movie in a way that it's not in the book is that while there's the scene where we hear that Frank has lost his first wife during the war,
right?
We don't know anything more than that.
Yeah.
In the movie, we also see this photograph at Helene's house that she looks at several times.
Mm-hmm.
The soldier with a little loving note. So it seems clear that she lost someone important to her in the war as well.
Yes.
And that's kind of a nice
It is, and it's not in the book, and it's not in Q's legacy. I think that is an invention of the movie.
Yes, I agree.
Helene in at least in Q's legacy seems to have no romantic attachments to anyone except a secretarial school teacher at one point, who she was enamored of when she was her parents were trying to find her a job during the Depression. They sent her to secretary school, but that's basically it. Which it's interesting, and she's, you know, in the movie we see her going around in springtime in New York and seeing these young couples, you know, amorously embracing and kissing on street corners, and she writes to the bookstore for, you know, requesting a volume of love poetry that she can take with her to the park, you know, which is kind of yes, in her slacks, yes. She talks
without any slobbering.
Right, yes, not any slobbering. She talks a lot about liking to wear slacks in her book. But yeah, so I don't know if anyone knows anything else about Helene Hanff and her possible romantic life. I guess it's not important, but
there's a biography of her. It came out maybe 15 years ago, and I haven't read it, but now I kind of want to after
I'm a little curious. Yeah. So
I think that the person who wrote it was able to interview her. At some point. But maybe misremembering that.
She was very accessible to people during her life because, well, as she said, if you write a book that has your home address on every page, and people like it, they'll send you letters, and they also would call her up. And she talks a bunch of times in Q's legacy about people calling her up who she either doesn't know or doesn't remember having met, and they'd be like, "Hi, Helene, it's Suzanne from Kansas," and she's like, "I have no idea who this person is." It's like, "How are you? So good to hear from you." You know, and then once the stage play was successful in England and it started getting produced, she would get a lot of phone calls, particularly from actresses who were preparing to play her, and they would want to talk to her.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the things.
I have a question for both of you about this.
Yeah.
So How would you like to be in that position, receiving these phone calls and receiving these letters after having published a book? I know how I would feel about it, but I'm curious how both of you would feel about it.
Well, Hannah has published a book, so tell us
Yeah.
how many phone calls do you?
Right.
We haven't gotten
Good
any
point.
phone calls. And luckily I published a book that not many people read, but yeah, I'm also much more of an introvert than Helene was. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of hate getting, it's kind of nice to know that somebody read the book, but
Yeah.
will you, I read this book and it's related to my work and will you help me? That's one thing. But when it's just, I read this thing and it meant so much and will you talk to me? It's just, it feels so awkward that.
Yes, it does.
I can't imagine Hannah fielding such a call.
Fielding such a call?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Which was one of the reasons I asked the question. And James, I have no idea. He might just snicker about it.
I never get phone calls.
I haven't gotten phone calls from it, but I get emails, and I still get them periodically. And it's been a long time since the book came out, and the book that gets more attention. And I usually write back, but and say something like, "Oh, well, thank you so much," blah blah blah. But I don't encourage more connection.
Right.
There's kind of a long story.
The phone call stood out for me so much.
Yeah.
That just seems so unusual. I don't know if that's because of I think some of that's coming at it from more of a modern sensibility, because it seems like I'm less likely to talk with my daughter on the phone because of the world of texting now.
Mm-hmm.
And it would seem to me like it would be very odd to get a phone call after having written a book.
Yeah. And it's harder to find people's phone numbers, where it used to be really easy.
Yeah, it used to be really easy. You just pick up the phone book.
Right. Or called, information from the other city or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Well, a lot of the people who are contacting me are deaf. And while they can talk on the phone using Relay or whatever, but in general, that's email or text. It's more convenient for them too. So I have a reason as well.
I'm the type of person who would love that. I would just talk on the phone all night to strangers. Now, that wasn't always true, okay? At one time in my life, I did spend a lot of time working in call centers. And
you had enough?
After a few years of that, the few years after that, I would have sooner held a turd to my ear than a phone. But once I'd gotten out of the industry for a while, I got back to where I love getting phone calls. And it's kind of, my life's a little bit like that now, except they're just people that I've met in AA meetings. They're not people who are fans of my writing at all. But I still field a lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
Not from any YouTubers. I haven't had any phone calls from YouTubers yet, but I have had one in-person visit from a YouTuber that was a surprise while I was in the hospital.
Huh.
And it was an unusual experience.
Wow.
Have I told you that story?
Mm-mm.
I was in the hospital and I was about to nap.
Not that I remember.
And I saw someone talking to one of the nurses. And he had a book with him, and he said, "Well, I'm just going to drop this off for him." And I said, "Hey, if that's someone who's come to see me, I'd like to see who it is and stuff." And this strange man comes in. He had been watching my YouTube channel and realized I was in the hospital and figured out which hospital I was in, and had brought me a book. And I just thought it was the loveliest gesture, even though one of the nurses teased me about it mercilessly, about how when I got out of the hospital, he had a room set up for me at his house. But but it is funny how that's another thing about our modern day and age too, that people have to cheapen something that was actually kind of a special moment, and he and I have never gotten together for coffee or anything like that, but we do still correspond regularly.
That's amazing. Yeah. You should.
Yeah. That was really neat.
My fan club, it's. I'm a YouTube star, and this is someone who that's pretty amazing.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
I remember when
Randy, I did at one time try to call you, but I got your voicemail, and your voicemail box is full. So,
oh yeah, my outgoing message says, "You know what to do and when to do it."
it does, yes, and I can tell that I knew that was you.
So I thought that was interesting that there was obviously an attempt to insert romance into a book that wasn't about a romance, really. And that's just indicative of the way Hollywood thinks, I suspect. And I felt like the soldier in the movie was just they want to make sure the audience knows Helene is not, wearing slacks for some other reason than she likes slacks.
Yes.
And so I just thought that was interesting. And also unfortunate that the American psychology is so wrapped around this idea of you've got to find a romantic partner or your life is incomplete, or you've got to find someone to make you complete. And it's really hard on a lot of people who don't find an appropriate partner, or they find a partner who's wildly inappropriate and abusive, but they don't want to be alone because they've been sold this bill of goods by our culture. Elaine Hanff didn't seem to have a problem worrying about that.
Right.
That she didn't have a partner. It didn't seem to bother her in the least.
Did not, no.
And I don't know, she may have had a partner she didn't tell us about too.
Yeah. But she seems to, this is one of the things, you write a book that shares so much of your personal thoughts and your personal life that if you leave that out, people are going to assume that wasn't a thing, but we don't. Right. So how much, to be, quote, an open book is a way of writing a thing, but it can also be a strategy, right? It's like, I'm an open book, ask me anything, but,
And maybe it's especially tempting in a book with no plot to have some sort of story that people recognize, and we're like, oh yes, the love story, we know that part, and we understand that.
Right, and we all, to different degrees, share things about our lives on the internet with strangers, right? And but we're definitely not open books, and we're not telling absolutely everything that's going on, right? So what's going on? Okay. You two talk for a little bit. I'm going to go take a little break.
Okay, no problem. Hannah, have you seen a movie called Educating Rita?
Oh my gosh. It's a movie that I, okay, so what's the movie about? Was it Steel Magnolias, maybe, that came out at roughly the same time?
Maybe.
I
remember a movie called Steel Magnolias.
A friend of mine and I in high school had gone to see Steel Magnolias, and it was sold out. And so we went, and I was not excited, but I wanted to go with my friends. And so instead we went to see Educating Rita because it was the only thing that had a ticket.
Oh, what a treat.
And neither of us had ever heard of it. My friend hated it, and I thought, I love this. This is the most amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't seen it since. And I was thinking about it just the other day and looked it up, and it's a play. And apparently it's not only a play, but it's a play that is frequently read in the British school system.
Oh, wow.
Exam things or GS.
I knew it was a play, but I didn't realize that it was part of the curriculum there. That's amazing.
So yeah, I really want to go watch it again.
Well, it's wonderful. It's just as marvelous now as it was when you watched it before. I've seen it through the years multiple times, but it's a movie. It's funny because it reminds me of 84 Charing Cross Roads, even though the story couldn't be more different.
About it this week. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's the same kind of irrepressible spirit that Helene Hanff is. I imagine they would have gotten along really well.
That's great. Yeah.
And I don't know, the Anthony Hopkins character might have gotten along really well with Michael Caine too, if you could have sobered his character up long enough.
Yeah, I'm sure that the two of them were in something together at some point. It seems unlikely that they weren't, but I can't think what it would have been.
They'd have to be. Yeah. But yeah, that's the movie that it just keeps coming to mind is Educating Rita. I'm thinking about 84 Charing Cross Road. And also a movie that, there's no romance between them in Educating Rita. He's literally a teacher figure. She's a student figure. And in an Americanized version of that, of course, they would have had to have fallen in love.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but they didn't go that route, which made it much more interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. That's interesting. I remember so little about it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I did see it a time after that, but it's been a really long time. So,
It's
yeah.
it's a lovely movie. There's a scene in it where, spoiler alert, there's a scene in it where she has come back from hanging out with some other students. She's gotten educated enough that she can hang with the other students, and she comes back and he has been saving William Blake to teach her, and she's already read him, and he's devastated.
Oh,
He's devastated that he didn't get to introduce her to William Blake.
oh my goodness.
And you talk about a scene that only a reader could appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a
And
reader
that's
could
a reader for
definitely
like
appreciate it too.
reader, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
I might adopt your tradition of reading 84 Charing Cross Road every January 1st. I think that I like to take other people's traditions and adopt them when I can.
It seems to have spread that do you remember Sarah at Hardcover Hearts? She's not on YouTube a whole lot now, but she is occasionally, and she's a little more active on Instagram. She had that tradition for the last several years. I don't know how long she's had it, but when I found out about hers because she mentioned it and she had not heard me talk about it, and so we both had it, and now Jen's Bookshelf, or that's not the name of it, I've forgotten her name, who has a huge channel, and she had a read along on her channel this year and I don't know how many people were on there, but all of us were reading the same book.
That's great.
So it seems to be spreading as a tradition without me spreading it. It's just other people have come up with it too. So.
Well, for reading traditions around the holidays, I always read The Gift of the Magi to my daughters every year for Christmas. Yeah. And every year they would say, this is the year he's not going to cry at the end of it.
Oh.
I am a sentimental, emotional, blubbering fool. And I can't get the last sentence of that story read without sobbing, every time. I thought about doing a reading of it online, but I don't know that I can bring myself to cry on YouTube yet.
Oh yeah, that would just be wonderful though if you could, especially with your big Santa Claus beard. And
maybe this Christmas. Yeah, I trimmed it recently, but I had grown it real long at one time. It's at one time I had a longer beard than Sean Standfast.
Oh, did you? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't know that this was probably pre-BookTube though, when I had the really, really long beard. But I'd describe it as more like a ZZ Top. Yeah, it came.
So I don't know
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I like the trimmed up look a lot better personally, but
it looks great. Yeah.
Thank you. I've had a lot of fun playing with AI and my thumbnails on YouTube lately.
Something and on a little bit.
Well, my vision is starting to fail me, and so I can't see what my thumbnails really look like, even on my big screen TV. I can see them, but they're blurry. So I had AI making me these thumbnails, thinking it was using pictures of me, but they're not really pictures of me. They're AI pictures of something that looks a lot like me. And my daughter finally pointed it out to me that would mean I didn't believe her because I knew she just wanted me to stop using the app. But then Criminale contacted me and said, hey, look, dude, Uncanny Valley. So I decided to create Cartoon Randy as a result.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, we're not even gonna. Yeah. Well, let's lean into the fantasy of it instead of going the other way and get more realistic.
Making it clear
We've,
that it's
we've
not real.
wandered afield from 84 Charing Cross, James.
You were talking about your AI thumbnails.
Yeah, but before that, we did talk about a movie, Educating Rita. I don't know if
Okay.
you've seen it.
I have not.
Educating Rita is a movie with. It was Michael Caine and what was the name of the actress, Hannah?
I don't remember.
She's famous.
Yeah.
He's an English professor, and they start having public university. She's a hairdresser who wants to learn about English literature, and so he becomes her mentor and her tutor. It's sort of a Pygmalion story, but there's no romance in it at all. But it's a really delightful, heartwarming comedy. It's made in England, and it's rarely seen now. I can't find it streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
And it was from something like 1984. Something
That
like
sounds
that.
right. Yeah, 84. Yeah.
When I was
So I
thinking
saw it
about
when I
it
was
the
in high
other
school.
day, when I was thinking about it the other day and looked up the play, I did find a streaming thing, and it might have been Canopy, which I got through my library.
Okay.
But I'll look for it and let you know. And because I haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to that. It's been a really long time since I've seen it.
I would be open, I'd be open to having another conversation on Cinephile Sunday about Educating Rita.
Oh, that's great. I would love to do that.
Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Back. I would love that.
Okay.
I want to avoid, James and I have talked about this a little bit. When it comes to talking about classic movies, we've gotten so old that these, like movies my daughters think are classics are just stuff I saw at the mall,
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do we talk about on here when we talk about classic movies? I don't want it to get too new, but I was the one who said, let's do Wrath of Khan, which came out in 1982.
Right.
Yep.
So I can't complain too much.
Right.
So one of the things that really struck me about this is that writing an epistolary novel has a real lineage in writing, that people know that as a form. But turning it into a movie and figuring out how to do an epistolary movie is kind of wild. And you pointed out, James, that there are a lot of scenes that are outside of that frame. We see a lot of the background of the world, but there's still a lot of someone typing, and because she can be so dramatic in her typing, she gets by with that, and she speaks aloud when she types, or he reads it aloud, or reads aloud what he's writing to her, and someone else is typing it for him, or so we get these. Are there? Can you think of any other movies that have relied on letters this much?
Not to the extent of this one, where the source material is all letters, right?
No, I can't think of any.
I'm gonna think of one in the middle of the night. I'm gonna say, oh yeah.
Do you think it's effectively done here?
Well, yeah, I think that's why we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
It is pretty effectively done, and a lot of it is due to the. Well, I mean, obviously the source material, but also the stage play that was written by, I forget who, but was very successful in England, and when it opened, and then it, according to the Q's legacy, it was a big success in London when it debuted, and then they debuted it in New York, and it was a flop. Everyone panned it. It was very, very unsuccessful. And Helene had gone to England for the premiere in London, and she was like, I was a celebrity for a week in England, and she comes back to New York, and they do the same thing. It's like, and no one really cared. She's like, but that's just fine with me. I like my privacy. And when she was in England, she has lunch with the English publisher of her books, and they in England they brought out 84 Charing Cross Road and The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street in one book. So they'd already been published published in America separately, and the publisher is talking to her and saying, we just didn't think there was enough, and we didn't think it was long enough to be a book. And she says, well, it's all right, but every time you sell one of these books, I get 11 cents as a royalty. And if the person who bought it likes it, they write me a fan mail letter, and I feel like I have to reply, and it costs me a 22-cent stamp. So, which is a very Helene kind of thing to say, of course.
Yeah.
We have some comments. So we have, is it from the Great Book Chat with Pat? Hello, Pat.
Hey, Pat.
And Miguel and Pat are saying hello. Libro says 25th anniversary of Amelie and Piano Teacher. Both excellent films. I totally agree. They are. Anais Nin opened her books a little too much. I think you mean she opened up about herself a little too much in her books. I haven't ever read an Anais Nin. Anyone?
I did, and then watched Henry and June when it first came out. And she definitely opens up.
Yes. Michael Caine was even better in Blame It on Rio, the film he made after Educating Rita.
Which I've never seen.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen it either, but it's on my list. It's actually in my watch list.
Yeah. So I think he's saying Julie Walters was the actress in Educating Rita.
Right.
That's right, Julie Walters.
And she became kind of a bigger star after 1983, right?
She did.
Yeah.
And Pat is saying that's from 1983, so
that's what I was thinking.
Make another Hannah exception if we're going to do that. So
I can be the person that you call whenever you want to do something out of your time period.
Right. Yes, and then you'll be coming on after a while and saying, "Let's talk about this TikTok video from last week." I'm like, "Oh, Hannah, come on!" Always going after the latest trends. Dangerous Liaisons, I guess she was in. Okay. The Shop Around the Corner. Okay. People are just naming. Yeah. Okay.
The Shop Around the Corner is a Jimmy Stewart film. It's set at Christmas time, and it was remade into You've Got Mail.
That's right. Libra says my dinner with Andre.
I think that she's talking about it being the mail part.
Right. Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Good point, Pat. Thank you. Yes.
Oh yeah.
My dinner with Andre in an unusual setting, and yet it is fascinating. Now, my dinner with Andre is fascinating, and I think they had at one point wanted to switch the roles, which like they would each play the other person, which I don't know if I believe that. I think they did not consider doing that.
That's
but
interesting.
You have Beaches. Pat says so. I guess Julie Waters was in Beaches. Okay, now we're going to have an argument. It's okay, Libro. Just he's going to have the song in his head. Okay. A.R. Gurney's play Love Letters. Thank you, Pat.
I didn't know
Patricia H. I do not know this play, but
I'll look that up.
Yes, we should look that up. And Pat says the Shop Around the Corner was updated as You've Got Mail. Both revolve around letters and emails. They do, but I mean, I haven't seen a Shop Around the Corner. I've seen You've Got Mail. So, but yeah.
Yeah, you're usually pretty one-sided in the Shop Around the Corner. You'll see the character and he's sitting there reading the letter out loud to his buddy in the break room or something.
Yeah. Well, I've been rereading some Jane Austen lately, and thinking about how much letters play a part in her fiction. And I know that the letters before her, the novels before her, were often much more dramatically about letters.
Yes.
But they're of tremendous importance in Austen too. But the amount in movies is especially more recent movies, is kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea of mail is going to be completely foreign to people very soon. So
yeah.
I was talking with my English professor from college the other day, and he's 84 now, sharp as a tack, but he was in the middle of writing a letter to another professor of mine that had moved away, And he said, and now I get to add to this letter that you called me today. I get to put that in there too. 'Cause writing a letter for him is a multi-day operation. I mean, when he writes a letter, he writes a letter.
Yep.
So I just thought it was like talking to someone from the past.
All right.
It's like talking to an ancestor.
Right. Well, of course, there were famous epistolary novels like Clarissa, where the whole thing is
Right.
letters, right?
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Isn't a large part of Normal People a bunch of emails? I know we've all read Normal People here, right?
I have not.
Hannah's going to be
I think Normal
insisting that
People
we
was
cover
around
that on
before.
Cinephile Cinema.
Once it's made into a
I
movie.
think wasn't Normal People around before email became really common?
No. I'm talking about the Sally Rooney book. It's like 10 years old. So.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Oh, yeah. When you first said
Awful.
it, I was like, wait, wasn't that a movie back in like the
There was
70s or something?
That's
Oh, you're talking
ordinary
about ordinary
people.
people.
Became
Yes.
clear when you said email.
Right. Yeah.
I knew you were talking about Sally Rooney.
Right. Which is a good movie,
Sorry.
but yeah. No, there will be no Sally Rooney adaptations on Cinephile Sundays.
No. Not
I
while
have
I'm
one
hosting.
I have one little random thing.
Yes.
Do you remember the woman from Baltimore who shows up at the very near the end when Frank
Yes.
comes out and sees her and
Mhm.
she's bookish and do you know who that was?
Julie Walters.
Good guess. It was the same actress who played Polly in Fawlty Towers,
Oh, okay.
who was married to John Cleese.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. What is her name?
I can't remember.
Right.
I don't think she did much after that. I think she left
Right.
acting and John Cleese. So.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Libro Paradiso is saying, I know the song Common People by Pulp. Now that is a great song, Libro. Anyone else? Common People? Nope. Okay. It's a song from the 90s, and it's about meeting a wealthy young woman who says she wants to know what common people are like, and she says, I want to sleep with common people like you. And the narrator of the song says, so I said, well, I'll see what I can do. And then he takes her to a supermarket and he says, just act like you don't have any money. And she says, well, that's so funny. And he says, well, you don't see anyone here laughing. And I don't know. You have to hear it. It's three minutes long. It's a great song. It's got a great video. And the point is, you'll never know what it's like to be like common people, because even if you move into a crummy apartment with roaches, you'll know the whole time that you can call your dad and he can fix it all anytime you want. Libro says the song is an inspiration. Yeah, it's a great.
I will look that up.
There's another song called "Where Have All the Average People Gone" by the great Roger Miller.
Yeah, Roger Miller is fantastic.
I highly recommend that cut.
Yeah,
I played that one.
Well, everybody, it's been about an hour, and my little dog needs some attention. So, yeah. Well, I will say thank you, everyone, for joining Cinephile Sundays again, and we will be back probably in 2 weeks. Randy and I haven't settled down on what we're going to do yet, and hopefully we'll have Hannah back again for educating Rita,
that sounds great.
Or who knows, maybe we'll be doing Sinners, which came out in 2025 or something. I don't know. Since we break the rules,
say something too before we sign off.
Go ahead.
If anybody's watching this who's not subscribing to Hannah's channel, you're missing one of the delights of the internet.
Thank you so much. That's really lovely.
Yes, definitely subscribe to Hannah's books if you're not already. You will not regret it.
Absolutely. The Dame Judy Dench of our part of BookTube.
I think I mentioned that last time I got my haircut, I asked for a Judy Dench haircut, and I need to go back now. It's grown out, but yeah, I'll try to get my Judy hair on next time.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was lovely.
Thanks all.